Salvete discipuli. Today, our objective is to conjugate a Latin verb in the present tense. And we've already taken a look at some vocab words. So I'm just going to go over to that real quick. And just for the list from class, we learned that there are basically two types of verbs on this list. If a verb ends in ARE in the second principal part, it is a first conjugation verb. If it ends in ERE with this long mark or macron, it is a second conjugation verb. And we're going to kind of see today what that means and what that does and how that changes the verb. All right, so every verb on this list is either ARE or ERE with a long mark, first or second conjugation. Okay, so we're taking a look at a couple new things here, and first thing we're going to take a look at is a verb chart. All right, so when you learn a language, you can learn how to conjugate a verb, and you do so in a chart that looks like this. Okay, so there are 6 boxes that correspond to the first, second, and third person, singular and plural. Okay, so for this assignment, we are going to fill in these boxes with both a Latin verb and how it translates in English. All right, so this chart is a good reference for you. All right, and we kind of talked about this. So Latin verbs, they are not just verbs, but the whole language itself is really dependent on the endings that go onto the word, and that changes how they translate. So what you have right here, and you can see 6 different endings here, which correspond to these boxes, are the endings for the present tense. Okay, OST, must, tis, int. And then in parentheses, I put how they translate. So we already, when we talked about verbs on the vocab list, we talked about how the first principal part translates as I love, and it's the beginning of the present tense. So I'm going to walk you through how to do this, and then you guys are going to do it on your own. So you're going to just go ahead in that first box, and you're going to put a mo. And how it translates is I love. Now you may notice I only included 2 principal parts here. The reason for that is you don't need the third or fourth principal part of the verb. This is for the past tense, or one of the past tenses, and this we don't even really get to in Latin 1. So I've only included these 2 principal parts for each verb because that's all you really need to do this activity, to conjugate in the present tense. All right, now, so I look here and I know it's first conjugation. So how that plays in is we are going to, I guess first I should say, first person is I and then we. Second person is you. English uses the same word for you singular and you plural. Some people will say you all, but you can just put you. And the third person is he, she, or it, and they in the plural. All right, and some of you may have done a similar activity learning Spanish. The Latin present tense looks very similar to the Spanish present tense. All right, so back to completing this. All right, so this S ending on a Latin verb corresponds to you, and we need to connect it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take what's called the stem of the word. The stem is the part of the word that never changes. All right, and the stem is essentially everything but the O. Okay, this O is an ending, which means I love, but we want to get rid of that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of it, and we're going to connect this. Okay, so how do we connect it? We're not going to do this. That looks ridiculous. We need to connect it with a vowel. So what vowel do you think we connect it with? Here's a hint. It's an ARE verb, so we're going to use an A. All right, so amas is a Latin verb, and it translates as you love. You don't have to write both of these, but just keep in mind that you could also say you are loving. There's 2 ways you can translate the present tense, so just keep that in mind. But you can just do you love. All right. And then we're going to just keep going. So we're going to connect this T ending, which corresponds to he, she, it. And we're going to use the A vowel because it's a first conjugation verb. Check this out. All right, and then we are going to connect this mus ending, which corresponds to we, the first person plural. So there you go. We love. Amatis. All right, that's the you plural. And once again, some teachers will require you to do you all, but you could just say you love. Just realize that you're implying plural you. And then we're going to add the nt. And that corresponds to they. The third person is the most common form that you see in the language because it encompasses everything. He, she, it loves, well, you could say like the student loves learning. The student is the he, she, it. So everything falls, most things fall into this category. Where these are always going to translate as the subject. I love, we love, or you love. The third person can be anything. It could be the dog loves treats, and that would be this verb, because the dog is the he, she, it. All right. Okay, I'm not going to go over this one because this is going to look exactly the same way. It's an ARE verb, but I want to jump down to a second conjugation verb. All right. Let me just drop this down. Okay, so it's a second conjugation verb, so it's going to look a little bit different. All right, you're still going to just take this first principal part, which is the beginning of the present tense, and we're going to just write that right here. Okay, the O corresponds to I, and we'll use O as a definition. Ought gets a little awkward. Okay, so IO. All right, now we're still going to use the same endings, even though it's a different conjugation. These endings apply to all Latin verbs. So we need to connect this S. Okay, so what vowel do you think we're going to connect it with? We're not going to connect it with an A because that's first conjugation. That's what that group of verbs does. So what do you think? I bet you're thinking it's going to be an E, and you would be correct. All right, you're going to look right there. Now, you don't need to put the long mark when it's in the verb form, when it's in the conjugated verb form. So we're going to do our stem. Now, it's a little weird that the E is here, but it doesn't really change anything. You're still going to use that E, and then you're going to put the ending, and it looks like that, okay? And you're going to translate it as U-O. Stem, vowel, ending. Okay, once again, don't need to put the long mark when you're in the verb form, when you're in the conjugated verb form. She, it, O's, all right? We-O. Betis. U-O. And bent. They O. All right, this is what you're going to do. I think I put every verb on the vocab list on here. I think I skipped conservo. It's kind of the same as servo. Do is a little tricky. Be careful with this. It's only got one letter as its stem. So you're going to do do, and then you're going to do das, dot, and so on. All right, so all you got to do is you got to take a look and figure out, is it first conjugation or second? If it's first conjugation, you connect the endings with an A. If it's second, you connect them with an E. Simple as that. All right. Hope you followed along. And you guys will complete these charts. And you've learned how to conjugate a Latin verb in the present tense. One last thing. The verb to be well, this is how you say hello, but in a verb form, it doesn't quite, you don't say I hello, you hello. So you're going to say, I am well, you are well, he, she, it is well. So a little bit awkward. If you have any questions about that, let me know and remind. Same with the verb to be strong. This is also how you say goodbye in Latin, but you're not going to say I goodbye, you goodbye. You're going to say I am strong, you are strong when you conjugate it in the present tense. All right, I think I've talked enough here. Okay, good luck, and I hope you followed this, and walite.